So why would you want to grow sprouts and microgreens? So we're going to start with the health benefits. The primary two health reasons to sprout your seeds are to remove toxins and maximize their nutritional value. So how does sprouting remove toxins? All seeds have toxins to protect themselves from being eaten by bacteria, by fungus, by animals, because without these toxins as an evolutionary strategy, the seeds would not have survived. If you soak the seeds, though, that's the first step in the sprouting process, those toxic substances are reduced as the seeds begin to germinate. So raw lentils, for instance, they have lectins, which are they're just anti-nutritional proteins in them. But if you sprout them, it reduces those lectins. You can also reduce them by cooking, but then you end up losing a lot of the lentils' nutritional value. So I'll go more into the importance of raw food in a moment. The second reason to sprout is that sprouts offer the best nutritional value of all land-based fruits and veggies. Plants are at the peak of their nutritional value when they are at their sprout stage. So if you compare a sprout with a dry seed or a sprout with its fully grown counterpart, a lot of the time the sprout will have more vitamins, minerals, carotenoids, proteins, and essential fatty acids. Why is that? Sprouting essentially kicks the seeds into life. It jumpstarts their metabolic activity, right? So these little seeds are packed with all the nutrients that they'll need to grow without any sun or any additional nutrients for a week. So enzymes in the seeds are rapidly converting all their concentrated nutrients into complex materials to help them grow into mature plants. Sprouts are also the best enzyme-rich foods. So these enzymes essentially pre-digest complex nutritional that was hard. They pre-digest complex nutritional structures, so they make them easily digestible and easily assimilated by your body. So for example, carbohydrates will become simple sugars, complex proteins will become easily digestible amino acids, fats will be converted to fatty acids, and vitamin levels will surge. So sprouts by design are meant to facilitate your digestion. So let's look at some data. I want to compare an unsprouted seed to a sprouted seed, and I want to start by looking at lentils in particular. So the nutritional values that I gathered here to make the comparisons were extracted from the USDA nutrient database, by the way. So with dry lentils, for instance, unsprouted lentils, the amount of vitamin C content is quite low, but if you sprout the lentils, however, they're one of the better sources of vitamin C. Sprouted lentils are close to 4 times higher in concentration by weight of vitamin C than raw lentils. Pretty crazy. So, and if you look at mung beans, sprouted mung beans have vitamin K content that's close to 4 times higher by weight than raw mung beans. So you would need close to 2 cups of raw mung beans to equal 1 cup of sprouted mung beans in terms of vitamin K. So sprouted mung beans are also close to 3 times more concentrated in vitamin C by weight than raw mung beans. And then for comparison's sake, let's look at a sprouted seed compared to a cooked seed. So if you boil mung beans, they barely have any vitamin C left as compared to sprouted mung beans. So this is why I stress the importance of eating foods raw, at least whenever you can, especially when you're dealing with sprouts and microgreens, because you lose a lot of nutrients when you cook foods. And to me, it goes against the whole point of growing sprouts and microgreens if you go ahead and cook them afterwards, because when they're raw, those nutrients that you're after are really intact. So with that being said, some sprouts should be cooked because they're too difficult to digest, and those that would include black beans, pinto beans, and brown rice. Then you have some other sprouts like quinoa or soybeans where it's optional to cook them. It depends on your preference. So if you eat any of these seeds, you can, regularly, you can sprout them prior to cooking to boost their nutritional value, and you'll lose less nutrients if you decide to cook them lightly afterwards. So let's compare a sprout to its mature counterpart. Let's look at radishes in particular. So somebody once asked me, how many cups of fully grown radishes would you need to eat to get the equal nutrition to a cup of radish sprouts? That's an excellent question, but it's also a trick question because it depends on the nutrient that you're trying to get the equivalent of, right? So for vitamin A, you would need to eat 19 cups of mature raw radishes to equal 1 cup of radish sprouts. And then for monounsaturated fatty acids, you would need 8 cups of mature raw radishes to equal 1 cup of sprouts. So these sprouts are powerful. They pack a mean punch of essential nutrients. Then you look at magnesium, you need 1.5 cups of mature radishes to equal 1 cup of sprouts. But all of these numbers are just in terms of volume. So if you look in terms of weight, 100 grams of sprouted radishes have 4.5 times more magnesium than raw mature radishes. They have 56 times more vitamin A. They are 45 times more concentrated in monounsaturated fatty acids, and they're 6 times more concentrated in phosphorus. So compared to their mature counterparts, radish sprouts are jam-packed with nutrients. And then radishes are also consumed for their anti-cancer properties because they contain sulforaphane. It's a nutrient that has anti-cancer properties, anti-diabetic, and antimicrobial properties. So cruciferous vegetables in general are very high in sulforaphane, like cabbage or wasabi or watercress, for example. And scientists attribute their high concentration of sulforaphane to decreased mortality, to decreased cancer-specific mortality in particular in terms of bladder, lung, prostate, and breast cancers specifically. And then broccoli sprouts, so to the right there, broccoli sprouts in particular are the #1 best source of sulforaphane. So, it's written here, sulforaphane has anti-cancer properties. It has been shown to prevent cancer in mice that were exposed to carcinogens, to slow cancer progression in humans, and to be a potential antidepressant too. So they actually had a small clinical trial in 2011 where they found that broccoli sprouts, which, again, they're the highest natural source of sulforaphane, that eating these improved the behavior of individuals with autism. Then there was another smaller study that was conducted in 2015 that found that the cognitive abilities of people with schizophrenia improved when given sulforaphane extract from broccoli sprouts. So pretty interesting studies there. And then, again, broccoli sprouts are the #1 best source. They contain up to 100 times more of the sulforaphane precursor, glucoraphanin, than mature broccoli, and they're 20 to 50 times more concentrated in sulforaphane than fully grown broccoli, right? So again, the sprouts are incredibly charged with nutritional value as compared to their mature counterparts. So what quantity of broccoli sprouts would you need to consume to reap the health benefits of sulforaphane? So according to Dr. Rhonda Patrick, she has a great talk on this, depending on what you're consuming them for, if you're consuming them for anti-cancer or depression, you may want anywhere from 40 to 60 milligrams a day of sulforaphane, which is 100 to 140 grams a day of broccoli sprouts. So in easy terms, 1 pint-sized jar gets you about 60 milligrams of sulforaphane. So you'd want 5 to 7 jars of sprouts on rotation. So if it's sulforaphane you're after, that's how you can do it. So Dr. Rhonda Patrick has a great online video on sulforaphane in broccoli sprouts if you want to learn more in depth about this topic. So if you eat a variety of sprouted leafy greens, of grains, of nuts, they're a source of complete protein because they contain all 8 essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. So if you're looking to add more protein to your diet, supplementing with a variety of sprouted seeds is an excellent way to do so. And then these sprouts also absorb minerals and trace elements from your rinsing water like iodine, zinc, selenium, chromium, cobalt, and silicon. So if you're getting those essential minerals and trace elements when you sprout, which is why you want to use filtered water. So what about microgreens? So microgreens also boast a high nutritional value since they're grown in the sun. The difference is that they'll have chlorophyll in them, and depending on the richness of the soil they're grown in, potentially more nutrients than sprouts. Light can also affect the nutritional potency of your microgreens. And then microgreen nutrition is also affected by how you harvest them and how long it takes for them to reach your plate. So you don't want to cut your microgreens and let them sit out for hours before consuming them, or they'll lose a lot of their nutritional value, for example. But we won't get into the growing and harvesting